Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I have been itching to get back and use my very own DIY silicone mould. If you didn't see this, I will link it below. And I am using authentic Sahara Desert sand. First time I used my very own DIY silicone mould was to make these Jesmonite keyrings. If you missed that, I'll link it here, but honestly they came out so beautifully and I've been itching to try epoxy resin in the mould, and it has been a whole month since I've done epoxy resin. Like, what? I got so sucked into the Jesmonite, guys. Easily done. But this is special. This is real authentic sand from the Sahara Desert. A few of you may remember a few weeks back there was a huge sandstorm in the Sahara Desert. It got sucked up into the atmosphere, travelled across Europe and landed in our back gardens, on our cars. And of course, next morning I had to run out and scrape off of my garden table. I wish I got more, but I scraped and scraped and I got everything I could off of our kitchen table and I saved it in this pot, and I've been waiting to use this sand ever since. And all I'm going to do is create some gorgeous ocean beach theme designs in these pendants. Now, because I don't have too much sand, I'm not going to be able to make too many. I ended up making just 4. The first thing I'm going to do, I've placed my DIY silicone mould on this board, and you can see here I've kind of rested it on a roll of sellotape and I've taped it to my desk so it doesn't slide forward. The silicone itself sticks quite happily to the cardboard. I really want to create that first sand layer at an angle because I don't want the whole of the bottom of the pendants to be covered. I just want the very bottoms of the pendants to be covered. So in order to do that, I need to have my mould sitting at an angle so that it doesn't just go flat. I hope I'm making sense. I'm not sure I am. But here we are. I've got a little bit of sand. Like I said, I wish I got more, but I didn't really want to wash it off our cars. I didn't want to scrape it off the car because yeah, I think I trusted it more from my garden table. I just trusted it a bit more. I don't know. Obviously, it's been through the atmosphere, so it has picked up pollutants on the way. But we're going to just ignore all that and just feel romantic about it. It's actually so much darker than I expected it to be. I put the sand in the pot as you saw, and I just added the tiniest bit of epoxy resin because I really want the sand to be utterly saturated in the epoxy resin. I don't want too much excess resin in this first part, and I'm just scooping it out. I don't know why I started at the bottom of the mould. It was only watching this back I thought, why did you start there? Why not just do the top row? But this sand was very red in colouring, a really, really different sand to anything I've seen before. And once I added the resin to it, it went super dark, like a really dark toffee colour. So I wasn't really sure how it was going to cure, how it was going to dry up, and if it would lighten up at all. But, you know, it's okay because it's sand from the Sahara Desert, so that's quite special in itself. And I know this isn't, you know, there's no beach in the Sahara Desert, but I'm going with beach theme anyway. I'm just cleaning it up here with a cotton bud just to get around the edges because my silicone seems to be quite static, so it was almost pulling the resin in all different directions. Some of you may have experienced that with some silicones. The next thing I'm going to do is add some seashells because what's a beach without seashells? The ones I'm using are actually a combination of resinate and from Amazon. I just ordered lots of teeny tiny seashells, and now I've just got them all in one bag. So yeah, you can get them from a whole host of places, I am sure. I will link them below. If I find them on Amazon again, I will of course link them below. The next thing I'm doing is just using some clear epoxy resin. Before I leave these overnight, I'm just gonna cover the seashells in some clear epoxy resin. And it was at this point I noticed that I had my angle a little bit steep, so I do end up lowering it. I take the sellotape away and I just put a couple of little bits under there to still keep it at an angle, but not quite this angle because I could see the resin starting to kind of pour out the top, and I thought, oh, you need to go lower. But anyway, here you see me just adding the clear. The reason I'm adding the clear is because tomorrow, when this is fully cured, I'm going to be adding the blue section of the ocean, and I want to make sure that the seashells and that sand are completely covered in clear. I don't want the blue ocean to dominate. I want to be able to see the sand. It's the whole kind of point of doing it. I don't want that sand and those seashells to be covered up. And I do pretty much the same thing to all four, just making sure that they've all got a little bit of that coverage in the clear. And here is a close-up. I was a bit nervous about using any form of heat at this point because, again, DIY silicone mold, I didn't want to destroy it straight away. So the colour I am using for the ocean is Ocean Blue by Let's Resin. It is an alcohol ink, and this is 24 hours later. So now my silicone mold that I made is flat. It's flat on my table, and I'm just going to now fill up all of those pendants, and that is good to go. I've actually decided, instead of filling, I was going to do two. So I was going to have clear in my left hand, blue in my right hand, and kind of pour them together at the same time. But I'm so scared of that blue dominating and traveling down and covering up the sand and the seashells that I decided to actually fill them 98% with clear. This is where my brain was going. My logic was fill them 98% with clear. This is going to make sure that the sand and the seashells will be visible no matter what I do. And then I actually mixed the alcohol ink. I just put 3 drops in here and I just mixed it in with the remaining resin. And yeah, I don't know which way round. I was just nervous, guys. I think if this wasn't Sahara Desert sand, I would have just done it, you know, a cup in each hand and poured at the same time. But all I'm doing here is just pouring a little bit of that ocean blue at the very tops of these pendants, key rings, whatever you want to create. Just to give me that ocean effect and yeah, make it look like the ocean basically. I do it to all 4, and then once I've done that, I end up coming in with a cocktail stick because it's quite uniformed. You can see here it became quite what's the word I'm looking for? Uniformed. I didn't like it. I wanted it to look a little bit more organic and flowy, but yeah, they went into these almost pointed kind of patterns. Didn't like it, so I just came in with a cocktail stick and I swirled, and I spent quite a bit of time swirling because I really wanted to dilute some of that blue down as well, so that it's just a subtle hint of blue ocean. Petrified that it would just take over from my seashells and my sand. And this sand was precious, okay? It's not normal sand, so I did feel quite protective over the sand element of this DIY. But that is all I'm doing here. You see me just running my cocktail stick in and around, swirling it all around, but also making sure that it kind of stays where I want it to stay, and that is at the top. Once I'd done this, I filled them up. So I then domed them at this point with the remainder clear resin. This gave them not only a domed appearance, but it also pushed that blue back up to where I want it. So this is 24 hours later, and I am already over the moon that they came out. I can clearly see my Sahara Desert sand at the bottom. I can see the seashells. We've got a bit of a clear resin section, and then we've got the idea of a blue ocean above. And ooh, love. Have we got bubbles? Yes. Do we care? No. There are bubbles in the ocean, guys. This is the one time I think when I'm doing epoxy resin oceans, it's the one time I'm perfectly happy to get bubbles, because it just adds to it. Adds to the whole overall look of the ocean piece. So yeah, forgive yourself for any bubbles. And the reason we got bubbles is because I used absolutely no heat. I was manipulating the resin a lot with a wooden cocktail stick, which would have already kind of, you know, made bubbles as well. So you could take more time, use more heat if you wanted your resin crystal clear. Now, moving on to the next step. This drill, you would have seen this in previous videos, it's my absolute go-to drill for all things jewellery, pendants, keyrings, you name it. It is perfection. It is USB operated, and it is linked down below in my description box, in my Amazon storefront actually. And I use this for Jesmonite as well. It drills into Jesmonite like a dream, and it just gives the most perfect, because it's got such a teeny tiny drill bit on it, it gives the perfect hole for your eyelets. So everything in this video will be linked below if I can. So the tools, the eyelets, the jump rings, and yeah, the drill for sure. It is hands down my favorite drill to use. This is another box I got from, I think it was BB Craft, a good solid year, 2 years ago. They sent me a whole jewellery making kit. I mean, so much in one kit. I've still got tons of it. So this is a large jump ring that I'm just opening up with my tools, and then I'm going to be able to attach the keyring attachment. So, you know, what you end up doing with your pieces, if you do decide to make anything like this out of sand that you have, then of course the end result will vary depending on what you actually want. I would love to wear one of these around my neck, but they're a bit chunky for me. I'm not a lover of the big chunky chunk, you know, around the neck. So they do make perfect key rings, absolutely perfect key rings. And if anything, they'd also look really cool with like a little decal on from your Cricut or your cutting machine, your Silhouette, whatever you've got. I don't know, you know, life's better at the beach, or some kind of little slogan would look really super cute on there as well. But you see how easy this drill actually goes in. I was so happy. And yeah, just screw the eyelets in and finish them off. Now you did also see me use my blade to take off any of the things, any of the resin that seeped over the edge. Just be careful if you do use that method. You know, I have been known to cut my thumb, so I don't want you doing that thinking it's perfectly safe, because that blade is sharp. You could alternatively sand them down, but you would need a really high grit, like a 10,000 grit, to make sure that it doesn't sand the resin off to the state of opaque. I really still wanted them shiny. But oh my goodness me, I'm so happy I finally got to use this sand. And trust me, when you've only got a tiny teeny bit of sand, the ideas of what to use it for are endless. I could sit for hours and not have a clue about one thing, but for this sand, it took me ages to decide this is how I'm going to use this sand. These are unique, completely unique. I want to say rare, but we have had Sahara sandstorms before, so I'm hoping for another one soon so that I can collect some more. I hope you've really loved them. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you got any sand dumped in your back garden or on your cars. I know it hit London. I don't think it hit the West Country, and I don't think my sister got any, and she's about an hour north of me. So yeah, let me know if you did get any Sahara sand in your back garden, but also, did you collect it? Did you go out like I did with a great big knife and just like scrape it off of every surface? I was just too excited. I'm like a big kid. When any kind of natural phenomenon like this happens, I am blown away. Anyway, I hope you've really loved this. I hope you like how I used that Sahara sand. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you all next time. I am very much going down the beach theme, alcohol ink theme for the next few videos in epoxy resin. So I hope you hang around and you love what I create. And yeah, I'll see you then. Bye.